Yes, once again, I'm here to discuss the Agile software development methodology, which I believe it will be very, very important aspect and chapter in terms of software engineering concepts. So, like I told the first people to join the session, every time you hear about Agile software development, then just know there is the element of the increment, there is element of the iterative approach. So those two attributes makes agile methodology to be admirable. Those are the backbone of agile methodology. And the beauty about it, what basically makes it unique is that it accommodates changes, which changes you cannot avoid every time you're working on any software project. So it is very, very hard to have a software project that can run from start to end minus receiving changes, because customer or end user changes or needs keep changing. Therefore, we need a methodology, we need an approach, we need a workflow that will keep accommodating these ever-changing needs minus ignoring them. So that is agile, and it can do it very, very what? Very well. So in agile methodology, you realize that they encourage a lot of teamwork. There is no way an individual can do stuff alone, but every person on the team has value. So there is a lot of teamwork, encouragement, accountability, and face-to-face communication. Every time you intend to adopt and use agile methodology, then the issue to do with the teamwork is very key. Accountability, what have you done? Who is responsible for this? As well as continuous meetups. These are very, very what? Important, and we have seen them yielding the results. So when we talk about agile, basically we refer to any process that can align with the concepts of the agile what? Manifesto, because there is what we call the agile manifesto that has quite a number of uh, quite a number. Those who have decided to stay, I suggest that you mute so that we don't get a lot of noise. Yeah, so that we are able to use this time for, profitably. Uh, I was telling you that Agile refers to any process in software development that aligns with what we call the Agile Manifesto. Yeah, because there was a team of developers that met and agreed to have systematic approaches that can be used. And among them is uh, a list. I mean, they came up with a list of guidelines that they have to follow every time they are working on any one software project. One of them is one of the issues or attributes or elements of the Agile manifesto is what we can refer to as uh, changing requirements. Even late in development, Agile processes, like Agile welcomes changes even at the last minute of development. So in every time you work with, I don't know where that echo comes from, but it doesn't sound well in my ears. Uh, Maybe let me first mute Victor a bit and see. I was telling you that Agile Manifesto has 12 principles. Yes, it has 12 principles that they believe once they are adhered to, like the software development process can be a little bit simplified, because you know very well that the software projects are very complex and complicated. But now for them, they sat and they come up with it and came up with what we call the Agile Manifesto, with the key principles that they believe once they are followed, like a team can find a proper way of work. And I have told you that one of them is to always welcome changing what requirements. And I've told you that these requirements change can happen at any stage of software development. It can happen during the requirements uh, elicitation. It can even be during the development. It can even happen at the last stage of software development life cycle. So therefore, welcoming the changing requirements is one of those key principles that the Agile Manifesto does what focuses on. Then there is also uh, the principle of satisfying the customers. You get uh, through what we call the continuous delivery of variable software. So now, when you work with the Agile, oh, for them, the developers that came up with Agile methodology decided or agreed that it is always good that you don't wait for the product to be developed from start to end, then you can deliver. No, it is very, very important that you develop and deliver, like basically incremental. You keep adding, you get whatever you come up with is what you deliver. Whatever you come up with is what you deliver. So it will help the end users to provide the feedback, which feedback can be relied on to come up with a perfect kind of what software product. Some members are not muted, and it really affects me beside where I am. Sisi, let me mute you because we're causing some bit of noise. Okay. Um, Another principle under the Agile Manifesto we can talk about is deliver working software frequently. So from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with of course preference to the what? The shorter time scale. Yeah, it is always very, very important that you deliver working software frequently. Yes, from time to time, this can happen in terms of releases. Yes, you can release a certain version that you can work with. Then after, then you can go for a better version like that. So another principle of the Agile Manifesto is what we can call business people and the developers must work together daily throughout the project. That is why when we go to look at the Agile frameworks, you realize that under the Scrum framework, it is always encouraged that you work with what we call daily standards. These daily stand-ups helps, the stakeholders to come on board and get to understand what is going on the project. So that is why business people and the developers must work together daily throughout the project was one of those principles that the initiators of the Agile Manifesto did what? Agreed upon. Another one we can talk about is actually, I think those ones, when I share the notes, you will go through and be able to do what? To understand what I'm talking about. Then also building projects around the motivated individuals, then and the others, like I told you, they are around what? They are around 10. Yeah, you will go through. I believe you will understand them there. Easy and clear. Then what makes Agile very strong? Why Agile? What are the advantages of working with what? Agile methodology. Now, Agile evolved, of course, from different what? lightweight software approaches. Yeah, initially, yeah, because it was obviously extracted from waterfall model. But now, what makes Agile very unique, very strong, is the flexibility and the continuous improvement that it provides to the people who work with it, which is unlike the case if someone is to adopt a waterfall model. Waterfall model is standard, is static in nature, whereby the way how things were is the way they are supposed to be forever and ever, whereby the moment you finish a certain stage, for example, requirements registration, then obviously you go to analysis, then you will never do what? You will never go back to make refinements in the previous what stage, which makes it a bit challenging, whereby now in a case maybe there is a requirement that was missed, that means you will never do what? Accommodate it. Yet we know very well that the issues, the requirements keep doing what? Keep changing based on customer needs. Then, yeah, Agile also provides continuous improvement, like I've told you. Those continuous improvements makes or helps to contribute in the perfection of the what? Of the product. But also the speed, Agile advocates or facilitates speed development. You get, yeah. So the advantages are in the notes that I organized. You will get to see them very well, where there is, I think, change is embraced, yes. Then also the end goal can be unknown, whereby Agile is very beneficial for projects where the end goal, in most cases, is not clearly defined. So as the project progresses, the goals will also keep right, and the development can, of course, easily adapt to these what? Evolving requirements. I talked about speed development faster, as well as high quality what? High quality product. Then there is also strong team interaction with Agile, just to know that you are not alone, but you work with a team. So the more the team interacts, the more chances of perfecting a final what? Product. And also there is what we call customers are hard. Yes, in Agile, being that you always even deliver whatever you have developed to them, then they will get to be part of this. Every time why products succeed is because there is that sense of belonging. The moment you involve users, in the product, chances of this product to succeed are very, very high as compared to a product whose development never captured the users' what? Involvement. But like in any other aspect, Agile also has what? Some shortcomings. Yes, whereby uh, while the level of flexibility in Agile is usually a positive kind of approach any person would admire, it also comes with some issues, because it can be hard to establish a solid delivery date, because just imagine you're almost approaching the delivery of this product, and then a new change does what? Comes on board. This new change that comes on board comes with a lot of issues, whereby you may end up adjusting on the time you had anticipated to finish the product. Then you may also need to adjust on the budget, as well as any other factor you get. So documentation can be neglected sometimes, or the final product can be very, very different than what was agreed upon in the beginning, because in the beginning you always agree. But as time goes on, due to the various changes that always comes on board, you may realize that the final product has completely done what? Changed. So you realize that using Agile, you have issues. For example, planning can be less concrete, because you plan for what you're going to do, but you may not be in position to plan for the entire product at once. So team must be knowledgeable, that is for sure. Yes, it is another challenge that you may face while working with Agile methodology, whereby the Agile teams are usually small. Yeah, like, so such team members must be very, very intelligent in those areas of specialty. For example, if we have a team for back end, they need to have that ability to do and provide all the endpoints, the integrations, and everything that the team needs to use when it comes to working with APIs in the system. So uh, those are some of the shortcomings. Then also there is another one which we can talk about of the time commitment from developers. You realize that Agile is most successful when the development team is completely dedicated to the product or any project. So the active involvement and collaboration is required throughout the entire Agile process. Sometimes working with Agile, you may realize that documentation is not given much attention. I have already told you about the final product being different from the agreed upon product. So all those are some of the shortcomings. Um, Last time we did what we call the generic software development methodologies, but now Agile as a new, okay, like it is not new as such, but based on the methodologies that are on market, yes, it is perceived as one of those that are of late, and they have their own approach when it comes to coming up with a software development. You get, yeah. So, and it has phases. We looked at the generic phases of software development life cycle, but now Agile as a methodology has its own phases that it advocates or it actually focuses or uses. So it is important that uh, uh, these phases can also be looked into. Yeah, and according to Agile, planning is something that you have to start with every time you embark on any software project. Planning. So meaning that once an idea is deemed viable or feasible, that is why I told you that during the planning phase is where we do the feasibility study. Now, in the feasibility study is where you will get to ask yourself, ask the team, is the product we are trying to bring on board, uh, does it have value for money? Okay, do we have enough time? That is why in the feasibility study, we have what we call time feasibility. Do you have enough time to work on this product? We also have another type of feasibility, which we call economic feasibility, you get, or financial feasibility. Do you have the money to purchase maybe whatever hardware that you're intending to use on this kind of, uh, project? Then we also have the technical feasibility. Do you have the personnel? Do you have the technical people who you want to make the system a fully AI-based kind of product? So that is planning. So the goal of planning is always to break down the idea into smaller manageable items of futures. You get, so it becomes now very easy for you to know that since we need to have security in our system, then we must have the login. Here, by the way, are people still there? Okay, I believe you are there. Okay, I was telling you that the moment you start planning, what you have to do is now start splitting the main or major tasks into small what? Manageable components or features. Then you have to prioritize and say, you know what? We shall start with maybe the main dashboard. But the main dashboard should only comes when someone has already registered maybe and they log in. Then they can be redirected to their what? Main dashboard. Then it is from there, then they can follow out this transaction, the other transaction, and so on. You get. But now you realize that you break down the modules you get. For example, we can have the authentication module, we can have the main dashboard, we can have maybe accounts, depending on what the project does. Then after planning, according to Agile, it is recommended that now you start what we call requirements analysis. Now, in the requirements analysis, here you have to always meet with the managers, meet with the stakeholders and the users to identify the business what requirements. So in this case, you need to gather information like who will use the product, how would they use it? You get when you are carrying out your what? Your analysis. So these requirements are always quantifiable, they are relevant and even detailed in nature. Once the analysis phase is done, you will obviously go to the design what? The design phase. So, and these are always prepared from the requirements identified in the what? In the previous stage. Yeah, because you be only designed based on what the users want. That is the requirements they need. So as a team working on this project, you need to think about what the product or solution will look like. The team also, like the testing team has to come up with a testing strategy or plan on how things should be. But also I must have told you about the types of designs that we need every time we're working on a software product, where we talk about the logical design, yes, that looks at answering the how question, yes, how the information will be flowing in the system, from which user, who has rights, who has these privileges. So you basically define the roles and privileges within your DB. So all those ones are in a design stage. Then you also come up with a physical design, yeah, where you have to look at your databases, the various tables you have, the different cardinalities in these tables, who's responsible for what, everything. Then once design stage is done, then this is when we now go to implementation. I told you that some methodologies can refer to it as implementation, others can refer to it as maybe coding. Some people can even refer to it as development. Some methodologies actually go ahead to call it construction, but they all mean the same. So this phase is all about creating and testing the futures, scheduling iterations for development, you get, because this is an iterative approach, which is incremental in nature, you get. So the development phase starts with the iterations, like iteration 0, then you proceed. Every time you come up with something new, you keep doing what? Adjusting, you get. Then we have, after that is done, then we shall go to what we call testing. So these ones are not different from the other tests we looked at, where you have to uh, uh, look for maybe bugs in the system. Also, you look at whether the system does as expected. So we have also various types of testing where we can talk about things like unit testing, system testing, as well as the user acceptance tests. Yes. So once the code has been developed, it is tested against the requirements to ensure that the product actually solves the customer needs and matches user what stories. So during this stage, it is always very, very important that you perform all the various what testing types like the unit testing. Talk about integration testing. Integration testing means like you need to test out to confirm if other systems connected to yours work as expected. For example, if you're to pay to make transactions on your system while using mobile money, you have to test that out because you just integrate the mobile money API into your system. So that is the integration what? Testing. Then system testing as well as acceptance what? Testings are also what? Performed. Then you will also look at another stage according to Agile. After you test, then you can take the product to what we call uh, deployment. So you can only deploy the changes you get. Now here the elements of JIT comes in, where you have to work with a team, where you have to pull your changes. I think, let me see if I get something here that I can show you when it comes to deployment. Not sure if you already have knowledge on how to work with a Git. Otherwise, I would like to show you something. Yeah, let me check here. For example, now this person, for example, if we have this kind of change here, let me check it out. Okay. Now this kind of yeah, this is the change that the person wants to basically merge into uh, this version. So what happens is, this one is not uh, Git, but this is Microsoft Azure DevOps. Yes, DevOps also is the CI/CD platform, the way how you can work with the Git and so on. Now, for example, if this change needs to be integrated here, what happens? Let us first open this main and we get to see what happens. When you look at this, all of these changes have been deployed. All these changes, have been deployed, but deployment happens after what? After, of course, testing, as you have seen. Now, what happens is if this person has made a merge request, actually this pull request you see, for example, okay, this one has this ID C553CD77 was the last performed change on this repository. You get, yeah, and now whenever someone wants to make change on this particular product, they have to first pull this branch. After pulling this branch, it's what they can base on to make further changes. Now, when we come here to check and see if this person, yes, that is why you see when you look at this branch, like you see that the last commit that was made was this one, C5553CD77. And now this person has made a change. Which change is this one, the top one, but it was made after pulling the changes, the latest or updated changes from this branch. So meaning that now this one is the new change that you can do it. You can go ahead and probably upload, and then it can overwrite the other changes, and then it becomes the new branch. So um, that is so deployment, like we have seen, it happens after what? After testing, whereby the product is delivered to customers for them to use. However, deployment is not, of course, the end of the project, because once the customers start using the product, they may run into new issues. Yeah, and these have to be, of course, resolved. So the Agile is a framework, and there are a number of specific methods within the Agile movement that you can do it. You can based on that is where we shall now have to look at uh, the various uh, how can I call them, methods within the Agile. You get, yeah, for example, the XP. Now XP is just also okay, you can call it also extreme programming. Is a type of software development under Agile, which is, its goal is to improve quality and responsiveness to the evolving customer requirements. Yeah. Then we also have what we call the future-driven development. Now, uh, future in terms of functionalities, not the period, but functionalities. Future-driven development, I included it in the notes. You will see it. It is an iterative and incremental software development process, brings industry, which looks at best practices into one approach. And we also have what we call the test-driven development. Yes, test-driven development, whereby for it advocates for you expected to first have tests in place, whereby now you implement based on the tests that you have written. Yeah, whatever the test advocates for, or the set rules of the test, is what your development should meet. So otherwise, there are also some other frameworks like the Kanban. Kanban is a framework of agile methodology, and it promotes small continuous changes to your system. And of course, its principles is always to work with what we call visualize the workflow. Okay, Kanban is basically like a click and drag kind of approach that you need to work with. Then the other framework where actually I want us to focus much, regardless of all these others that are advocated under Agile methodology, is the Scrum framework because it's one of the most popular ways to implement Agile. It is iterative in nature and it follows a set of roles, responsibilities, and meetings that never change. You get so they have a standard of iterative way of work basing on different or defined roles, yeah, then responsibilities as well as meetings. You get so still according to Scrum, we usually have what we call sprints. Sprints. Now, a sprint is usually like a period, right? The way how you can say a semester is a period. So even a sprint, when it comes to developing software, a sprint is usually maybe 1 or 2 weeks, which allows the team to deliver software on a regular basis. Every time, I mean, on a daily basis, you will be meeting and agree on what is going to be done, review what has been done, or also look into what will be done. So uh, then there are also other practices in Agile, but our focus will be on such. Then in the notes, I must have also included the how Agile addresses software requirements. Yeah, and in this way, I meant that when you decide to work with Agile, it will help you or the team to focus on customers' most important requirements as quickly as possible. You get, yeah, every time the customers define or outline requirements, what Agile will do is to basically bring them on board, prioritize them in the shortest time possible. You get. So Agile team use what we call backlogs with user stories to manage requirements. Yeah, backlogs. Excuse me. Backlog is like a list of requirements you get that you need to work with. Uh, I think you're going to allow me terminate from here. I will make another kind of recording because I need us to run a little bit faster. I will make another recording that I will upload where I need your feedback regarding how you do it, how you perceive what will be shared. So,
Thank you,
and
sir.
allow me, yeah, sorry, but allow me to terminate, but I'm going to be, I record
Thank
and
you, sir.
you, but always feel free to also provide feedback every time there is an item shared. Otherwise, have a great afternoon for now.